What's up, Tailgaters? A year in the booth with Tailgate today, and the road for the 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is taking us into the state of Kentucky. We are in Lexington to talk about the namesake, the Kentucky Wildcats, out of the SEC, and after a down year last year, portaling in everywhere. Can Kentucky get back to the Mark Stoops standard here in 2025? My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. I want to thank y'all so much for clicking on this video and for helping to support the channel. If you would like to support the channel even further, a couple different ways you can do that. The biggest one, do what it says right down there, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure that you don't miss a thing during prediction season, and you especially don't want to miss a video of your favorite team. Got a degree on the wall, the sports media degree, and I just started my new job in the sports media industry. You want to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date what goes on this very YouTube channel? Give me a follow on Twitter or X, whatever your preference to call the platform, and Instagram. The handle is at tailgatenate29. And you can even feel free to email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I want to thank y'all so much for supporting and interacting with me in the channel, however you may be doing so. With all that said and done and out of the way, that was a pretty rough intro, I will admit. Let us talk about the logo that is sitting right behind me. The Kentucky Wildcats are next up for 2025 predictions, yet again led by Mark Stoops. And a very disappointing season compared to what we have seen out of Kentucky in the past. Just not a lot of things went well. Not a lot of transfers meshed and performed up to the level that people thought that they were going to. And they ended up missing out on a bowl game by quite some margin. In fact, they were one of the bottom teams in the SEC. And there are some people projecting them to be that way this year. But with everything transferring in, if everything fits, can Kentucky get back to winning a lot of football games this year? We shall find out. My thoughts, we're going to go through a roster overview where the offense is over here to the left and the defense is over here to the right. At the end of the video, we're going to go through the Kentucky football schedule. I'm going to give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. And overall, this video is going to tell you what I think about the Wildcats here in 2025. But before we do get started, you want to look right down below me. Returning production numbers are according to ESPN, and they do factor in transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage. Even right down below that, recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025 are according to 24/7 Sports. They are bringing in a top 10 portal class this season. Again, they have portaled in pieces in every single position, and we start with the quarterback position. It just did not have great production last season at all. Brock Vandegrift, he was not it. 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, under 1,600 yards, 57% completion percentage. Not what they thought they were going to get with the former Georgia transfer, and nothing else worked out for them either. Both other quarterbacks, true quarterbacks that threw a pass last season, were under 50% completion. In fact, Gavin Wimsatt was 41% yeesh, and the touchdown to interception ratio was even worse than Vandegrift. The passing room overall, 15 touchdowns, 17 interceptions last year, 53% completion percentage. Offensive line wasn't much better, but quarterbacks didn't help it. They got sacked 35 times last year. It just was not a good quarterback situation in Lexington last year. It could be fixed this season. Enter Zach Calzada. Now, Zach Calzada, many of you will remember, is from Texas A&M, where he had a pretty okay season in 2021. It wasn't downright horrible. It really wasn't fantastic. It was just kind of meh, okay. And he got pushed out of Texas A&M for new talent, better talent in the eyes of the Aggie coaching staff and fan base. And Zach Calzada went to go work on himself at Incarnate Word. 2023 was, again, pretty okay, even though the completion percentage saw a massive jump. Everything saw a big jump for Zach Calzada last year. 3,744 yards, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on 65% completion percentage, and even found his stride being able to consistently run the football and get outside of the pocket. 332 yards and 5 touchdowns with Incarnate Word last season. He is absolutely changed. And look, I have not been a big fan of Zach Calzada when he was at Texas A&M. Again, I thought he was okay. We'll see if he can translate what he did at Incarnate Word over here to Lexington. I'm not going to lie, I am still a little bit skeptical, but in my humble opinion, it is going to, at very least, be better than what we saw him do at Texas A&M. I think he's grown. I think he's learned, and I think he's developed a nice skill set to be able to be effective at the Power 4 level, at least more so than he was with his old SEC program. Your top two backs, both with over 500 plus yards, are out, gone from this program. There you go. We've changed backs to plural now again. Both with 500 plus yards last season are gone. That's going to be the lead running back. Well, sorry, I clicked on the wrong name there for stats. Jamarian Wilcox, 590 yards and 2 touchdowns on 92 carries. That's 6.4 yards per carry last season. But the guy that did get the bulk of the transfers was Demi Sumo Karnbaye, and he is going to be gone as well. 586 yards and 5 touchdowns out of the rushing game last season. Again, just not a lot worked for Kentucky offensively. The run game was part of that. Dante Dowdell is going to be transferring into this program. He's over from Lincoln. He's a former Oregon Duck. Now is coming over from Nebraska, where he had 614 yards and 12 touchdowns on 4.3 yards per carry. He is a really talented option that's got a ton of upside. We'll see if he can produce better than either, again, Sumo Karnbaye or Wilcox could last season. Sitting behind Dante Dowdell this season is going to be Jason Patterson. You also have another transfer in Seth McGowan, so we'll see how deep the running back room is as well. Dane Key, Berrien Brown. Man, two huge losses in this wide receiver room. Dane Key, 715 yards and 2 touchdowns, in Berrien Brown. I don't think the production quite sees his value as a player. He's transferring over to LSU because he is really freaking good. 361 yards and 3 touchdowns and 29 catches last season. Again, I don't think that stat line tells you what kind of player Berrien Brown is. And Dane Key, an absolutely massive loss. Key is going to be going over to Nebraska, and I said Brown is going to be going over to LSU. Phenomenal pieces that leave. You do get a good one coming back, though. Jamori Macklin is a really good constant from last year, 313 yards and 4 touchdowns. No other guy had over 200 yards receiving from last season. So, okay, you're going to have to find some pieces. Hardly Gilmore, Fred Ferrier, those are guys that are coming back, but you do get some good transfers coming in here, led by Kendrick Law, coming over from Alabama, a guy that never performed up to expectations, never got over 150 yards during his 2 full seasons with the Alabama Crimson Tide. 2, 3, maybe even more. Whatever. He just never really had the immense explosive production that a lot of people expected him to have. He could very well do that this season. You also do have J.J. Hester and Troy Stellato that do transfer into the room as well. Other good pieces. Tight end room needs more consistency just out of the room as a whole. Josh Caddis is coming back. Willie Rodriguez is coming back. You get Henry Boyer and Elijah Brown as transfers coming in. I think you got to see more production. You got to see an increased level of play. Overall, want more out of the tight ends for Kentucky this season. And then 3 offensive line roles. They're going to need to be filled. Returning starters like Yager Burton and Jalen Farmer are going to be coming back, but then transfers are going to file in with a lot of proven experience coming in. Alex Wolschlager is going to transfer in as a graduate transfer in the right tackle position. Joshua Brown is a really, really good transfer. Brown or Braun, however you want to pronounce the last name, however it is pronounced, not however you want to. You got to pronounce it right. Apologies if I didn't. And then Shiaz Pete. I definitely said that name wrong, but another transfer offensive lineman here into this room. Back on Bush Hamden's offense in a little bit. Let's talk about Brad White's defense. The defense last year was overall solid. It was not the fault of this Kentucky team. The fault of this Kentucky team by far and away was their offense. But the front line defensively needs some drastic improvement, and overall discipline can get better. I think the defense was penalized quite a bit last season. It was, again, at times, not the prettiest defense to watch, but it was solid, and it had a lot of really good intangible pieces. Let us go ahead and talk about some of the pieces that are going to be coming back on the defensive units here. Most top contributors up front are going to be gone. And again, that sucks because Kentucky had immense talent that was on this defensive line last season. You take a look at some of the pieces right here. Deion Walker, he is now a Buffalo Bill. J.J. Weaver, oh, what an immense piece he was last season. He is going to end up being gone. You're also losing Octavius Oxendine. And Oxendine, again, however you pronounce the last name. All three very good pieces. Khalil is going to be a massive return here for this team. Saunders. I knew as soon as I said it, I looked down at my note sheet and went, hey, hang on a minute. That's not right. Apologies for that. Khalil Saunders is a really solid returner that had a lot of solid production last year. And there are plenty of portal pieces to boot. Playing the jack position is going to be Cam Olds. He's coming over from Buffalo, formerly of Kent State, or I should say coming over from Kent State, formerly of Buffalo, last season with the Golden Flashes. 6 sacks, 42 tackles, did have a pick, as well as a pass defended. Really solid edge rusher type player right there for you that can get some sack production in. David Gusta, and then McKeese Humphrey Grace is another transfer coming in, and you got some more back in the rest of the 2 and 3 deep there as well. Top 2 true linebackers, again, no one that played the jack position for him last year, are gone and off to play professional football, and led by Jamon Dumas Johnson, who was a draft pick of the Green Bay Packers. 67 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and an interception last season for him. A second leading linebacking tackler last year, Derek Jackson, is now with the Seattle Seahawks. So when you go take a look at the linebacking room, Alex Afari, he's going to be coming back. He's a combo player. He can play the defensive line unit as well. He's going to return. You do get Devarian Rayner, and again, some other pieces that come in. Cam Olds, as I mentioned earlier, going to end up being that jack position for you. Landon Watson's another transfer that comes in, and you got a ton of younger depth. So we'll see how it looks in the linebacker room. Secondary does lose some pieces, but it is going to be the Wildcats' most experienced and talented defensive unit. Boy, I do really apologize for the typos here. Experienced, not experiences. That doesn't make any sense. Experienced and talented defensive unit. Let me read off some names. DJ Waller, that's going to be a really big return for you. Quaysheed Scott, a true sophomore that's really talented to play nickel for you. And here are some more experienced pieces in the middle of the defensive unit. Ty Bryant, Jordan Lovett. You go back in the 2 deep a little bit. Jansen Dunn is a safety nickel, really experienced player that does come back. John Keys Hardaway, a really solid piece and a really good experience piece returning at the cornerback position there for you. The defensive front has got a ton of potential. Linebackers got a ton of potential. But in terms of what they have proven themselves to do in Kentucky, in Lexington, I think you got your best unit right there in your defensive backfield. When you talk about the special teams room, Aiden Laros is going to be coming back, while the kicking room is definitely going to look different than it did last season. So when you go ahead and look at this Kentucky team as a whole, the defense has got to replace some top pieces, but the talent is there. It's up to the offense to be able to take that next step. Can Zach Calzada translate what he did at Incarnate Word over back to the Power 4 level here with Kentucky? Can you fill in the wide receiver pieces? Can you fill in and provide a deep running back stable behind Dante Dowdell, who should still be a pretty solid piece for you this season? Does the tight end room get better? What can the offensive line do to improve this season? It really, to me, all hinges on this offense to get better, to improve. And I think if you see that, I think you'll see Kentucky improve as well. But when you take a look at the schedule that sits right over here, man, it is going to be a really tough road for Kentucky this season. You got a lot of good teams on the schedule. We'll talk about it here in just a little bit. But before we do that, right down below me, some odds courtesy of FanDuel. I want you to pay attention to just some odds to show you how good Kentucky is going to be, or how good the odds makers think Kentucky is going to be this upcoming season. We know they got long odds to win the SEC. They're tied for the longest odds in the conference. We know they got long odds to win the national championship, and the odds makers not giving them much respect in the bowl game department either. 4.5, just a half game over what they actually got last season. And when you take a look at the schedule, in my opinion, it's pretty understanding, especially because, probably say this once more at the end, this is a Kentucky team that needs everything to fit and needs everything to work together. Let's start out with this game against Toledo. Toledo is going to be one of the more talented teams in the Mid-American Conference. If this were to be an upset, I'm telling you, watch out for it. Toledo is going to be one of, if not the best team in the Mid-American Conference this year. Tucker Gleason is a really good quarterback that I think, for even as good as experienced as this Kentucky defensive backfield is, He's got a lot of good weapons out there, led by Junior Vandeross, who's an immense talent. You got some really good defensive pieces. I think Kentucky squeaks it out. I do, but man, I would really, really, really watch out for this Rockets team. I think they're going to be dangerous, and I think they're going to give Kentucky a really good fight, especially as the Wildcats are trying to fit in all of their portal pieces, especially as they are trying to mix and mash and trying to find what works and what doesn't and who fits where as far as all their transfers are concerned. Ole Miss is right here coming up in game number 2, and this is the game that I do think you lose. I think Ole Miss can take a step back in some ways this year, especially defensively, as the star power is not as prevalent, but I don't think it takes a step back by much. Still some good portal pieces coming in, and offensively, you turn the leaf over from Jackson Dart over to Austin Simmons. If he's anything like we saw flashes of throughout, I believe it was the Georgia game last year, and that I've seen in the spring, and you got some of the best offensive minds in the country there. I think Ole Miss is going to end up being a really, really good team to watch this season, especially from the offensive perspective. Eastern Michigan is going to be the team up next, and unlike Toledo, I think Eastern Michigan can be competitive in the Mid-American Conference. I don't think they're going to be one of the best sides in the Mid-American Conference. Again, that belongs to Toledo. A couple teams I talked about in a video earlier today with Ohio, Miami, Ohio, that are playing Rutgers. Those are going to be some of the front runners to watch in the Mid-American Conference this season. Eastern Michigan, we'll see if they can improve from last season. Should be a win for the Kentucky Wildcats. Then you dive on in to conference play. And I mean, you dive on into a fuller slate of conference games. And let me tell you, you have got some monsters coming up here to begin at South Carolina. Sorry, I don't think you're winning that one. I don't think the defense is going to be able to contain Lenora Sellers, even again for as rock solid as this secondary is. I don't know that it's going to be able to keep up with the speed of a guy like Nick Harbor and defend everything this South Carolina offense is going to be able to throw at you, even with this Kentucky offense. I think it's going to get better this season. I think Calzada has figured his stuff out. He is going to be probably the best version of himself that you've ever seen if you didn't pay attention to FCS football. He was a machine at Incarnate Word last year. Hopefully he can translate that for the sake of this Wildcat program. I just don't think it's going to be enough to keep up here. And you're going on the road in Columbia. Really tough place to play. I think you lose that one. And then on the road against Georgia. I know Kentucky played Georgia really, really close last year. And they gave them a really, really good fight. But this is absolutely a team that is just not going to do that again this year, especially considering this game is not at home. It is now on the road. And we all know the struggles that Carson Beck went through last season. Gunnar Stockton's got to answer a lot of questions at the quarterback position for me, but this is the Georgia team that is going to be physical, is going to be tough, is going to win the line of scrimmage. They're going to do it against Kentucky right here. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball. Georgia's just one of the best teams in the country. They got the best coach in the country, and you're not going on the road and beating the Bulldogs in Sanford Stadium. It's just not happening. Even though Texas is coming to Kentucky, coming to Lexington to play the Wildcats this season, and Kentucky gets a bye week to prepare for it, maybe they can do what they did against Georgia last year and make this one a lot closer than people thought that they were going to. I just don't see it. Texas is so talented. They are so talented. And defensively, if this is a Kentucky offense that just continues to struggle this season and doesn't put everything together, this is the Texas defense that is going to eat this Wildcat offense alive. They're going to eat them for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then twice everything on Sunday. That expression made no sense. I combined two different things that didn't have anything to do with each other, but Texas defense is really that good. Oh, and by the way, they got a quarterback by the name of Arch Manning. That last name means something, right? He's going to be just as good as advertised, and a really rough start to the season for the Kentucky Wildcats. But, and this is where I may lose some people. I definitely lost a lot of people in my Tennessee video. I knew that when I recorded it. I got this one as a win. When you see teams, to me, built through the transfer portal like Kentucky is, and especially with how much talent they're bringing in. Like, look, Zach Calzada, look at what he did at Incarnate Word. That's not something he just woke up and decided, yeah, I'm just going to start playing to my fullest ability now. No, he developed that. He earned it, and I think he's going to bring it over to Kentucky. Dante Dowdell, even if the running back room does not prove to be super deep and you don't have a good 1-2 punch like you did last year, Dante Dowdell is talented enough to run through some defenses this year. He's got that upside. Kendrick Law, he's going to perform up to a standard higher than we've seen him play out of Alabama in seasons prior, and he's still got a lot of good weapons around him. This is the Kentucky defense that, especially in the secondary, can take advantage of a passing offense that could take a step back from last season. Now, Nico and the Tennessee passing offense was already not stupidly explosive like we've seen out of some other Tennessee offenses, and Tennessee is starting to shift over to the mindset of, well, we're just going to put up 52 points. Try to do that, nerds. And now they're going to the, okay, we're going to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to try to beat our defense, because you look at everything that Tennessee loses. Obviously, the situation with Nico is sad. It's unfortunate. And Tennessee's got a good quarterback in Joey Aguilar. Aguilar's going to have a lot of new pieces. There's no Dylan Sampson. There is no Squirrel White. There is no Brew McCoy. And there's just all of your dynamic weapons from last season are gone. Poof, off. And again, the Tennessee's losing a lot more than Nico. May it be an over-exaggeration? Absolutely. But you're also losing James Pierce on the defensive side, and Kentucky's got enough talent to pull everything together. And I honestly do think, especially with the way the Kentucky's defense played last season, they can have a game or two this year where they step up and they just play some really good football, especially against a team like Tennessee that may be starting to shift over to that style of, okay, we're going to start to rely on our defense a little bit more to win us some games. And with the offense not having as explosive as playmakers as it does, or as it did last season, there are moments where Kentucky's going to take advantage of that. I think they pull off this win. I think it's going to be an upset, and I think it's going to be one of very few wins they get in conference play this season. In fact, I think one of one, because I do think they're losing to Auburn. That team is going to get better this season. How much better, we'll have to wait and see. But I think I got him at 7-5. This is the team to where I think Jackson Arnold is going to be better than he was at Oklahoma. It's a team that's got probably one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country, with two amazing true sophomores led by Cam Coleman. Now you got Eric Singleton entering that fray. Oh, stop. That is just a lethal wide receiver room that I think is going to be able to get through this Wildcat secondary. The Florida Gators are up next at home, and another opportunity at home to maybe pull off an upset here. I just think Florida's going to be a little bit too dynamic, and I think this defense is going to have a hard time being able to contain DJ Lagway. I think he is a superb talent. He's got a ton of good weapons surrounding him, and it's a Florida team led by DJ Lagway. If he plays up to standard, sky's the limit for this Florida team. Oh, and the defense is pretty darn solid. They got a lot of wrecking balls on that side of the football. So, okay, you do get a little bit of a break here from the SEC competition. You do get to play Tennessee Tech. I do think that's going to be a win for you. And then on the road at Vandy, on the road against LSU. Make all the jokes you want about Vandy. They're not that team anymore. Diego Pavia is a dog. He is a for sure fire gamer that can put the team on his back. Vanderbilt's one of the top teams in returning production this season. They have a ton of talent that's going to be returning around them, especially offensively. They just got a boatload of talent to return for them. And yeah, the wide receiver pieces got to get better, but they brought in some transfers to help them do that. And defensively, it was a big step up for Vandy last season. It could be another one this year. Vandy is not that team in the SEC anymore that you can look at and say, check, that's a win. And Kentucky better not do that here. They will surely lose the game if they do that. Vandy still got a lot of good talent, and I even think Vandy wins the game. And then Louisville. It's a rivalry that Kentucky, as of late, when you look back throughout recent history, now Louisville won the game last year, but as of late, it's been a rivalry that Kentucky has sort of dominated and controlled. I think it's starting, the guard is starting to switch hands. Louisville is an underrated team this season. I think people are very much so undervaluing what Jeff Brom has with this program, and I think Louisville's going to be a really good team this year. You have Miller Moss, you have some of the better running backs in the country. I will get the names, they are escaping my mind right now. But you got them in the backfield. Isaac Brown, a true sophomore. Duke Watson, a true sophomore. You paired Dakari Collins with Chris Bell and Colin Lacey. lethal offensive combination, and a defense that's going to be stacked to the roof with talent as well. So 4-8 for Kentucky for the second straight season. To me, there's a lot that has to mesh together and a lot that has to go right. However, if Zach Calzada can do what he did at Incarnate Word here and all the pieces fit and everything meshes, I think they can even upset Ole Miss. They can beat Florida at home. Surely they can beat Vanderbilt on the road. This is just a really tough schedule to try to navigate. It's really tricky. I think if you look at it overall, it could be one of the toughest schedules throughout college football this season, and a lot just has to go right for Kentucky to right the ship this season. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.